Hello and welcome to Not Saving It for Later. I'm your host, Hannah Hembry Bell. This is the podcast supporting women through divorce and beyond. And ladies, you are going to want to buckle your seatbelt for today because our guest is Casey Shipp, my mentor, coach. Let's be honest. Most of us were taught to wait our turn, to tone it down, to save it for later. Later, when the kids are grown. Later, when the timing's right. Later, when you finally stop caring what they think. Well, I'm done waiting. I'm Hannah Hembry Bell, Texas divorce lawyer, mom, and woman who rebuilt her life from the wreckage. This is Not Saving It for Later, the podcast guiding women through divorce and beyond. The place where we stop whispering about what's hard and start talking about what's real. Marriage, divorce, money, motherhood, faith, sex, power, no filters, no fake empowerment, BS. Just straight talk and practical truth for women who are done pretending that everything's fine, because your next chapter isn't waiting on permission, and neither are we. Casey, what would you even say to introduce yourself?
Well, you called me the secret door that's like a little secret magic door, and the string bikini shaman is what you've called me.
Well, I think, y'all, so the thing about Casey, if you're just listening to this, is she is as hot stuff as it comes. It does wear string bikinis. Casey, how old are you? 40s?
Yeah,
right?
I'm 40.
40? In her 40s, and is really so much of a person, and I mean that in every possible way that I could mean it. And how I got to know Casey is I was following her Instagram stories somehow. It was after Penny, so after the baby, and I had 15 pounds that was just sticking to me. It wasn't the same having a baby at 38 and trying to get that off a couple of years later still. And I have no idea how the algorithm, destiny, brought us together, I guess. And in all of these stories, how to lose weight without doing cardio, that hook, I am for that hook. And one day it was do this thing, buy this thing today, or else it's going away forever. And certainly one way to get me at different points in my life has been do this thing or else it's going to be FOMO. Right. And so I don't remember what I even did back then, but kind of got into Casey's world, trying to get some help with what I thought I was trying to get help with was losing some weight. And as time has gone on, I guess it's going on a couple years, if not a couple years, Casey, we've been doing stuff together. And I realized that Casey sort of embodies, sell them what they want, give them what they need, that they tell us. And I thought that what I needed assistance with was figuring out how to lose weight without cardio and stuff. When it turns out there was a lot more to it than that. And what I realized when I thought of Casey is this online fitness model sort of person, and she's going to be mean to me about whether or not I ate my green beans today, ends up that she's so much more than that. And I'm even going to get emotional starting to talk about it. But string bikini shaman is the best way that I can explain it, as someone who has been probably the single biggest or close to the single biggest influence in my life, in becoming more of who I am and actually shedding different layers of who I am and enjoying my life. I mean, the Not Saving It for Later name of this podcast, Casey's MO. I mean, she's preaching at us all the time. And I say us because there's a group of women that were in Telegram, which Telegram, I don't know, for all of you people who didn't know what Telegram is, it's some online texter thing, community builder thing that I'm only in because Casey's in it. And there's a bunch of women who I think most of their story is the same as me, kind of got in for some fitnessy reason and then have stayed around for more. So this podcast for me is extremely personal because I'm sharing with y'all my special Casey Shipp. And all the people in my life know, I'm oh, Casey Shipp, okie dokie. Well, Casey Shipp said, Casey Shipp did this. They're Casey Shipp, who the hell is that? And so anyway, I am just dying to hear everything she has to tell us, because she's here for us as women. And yeah, like, we're women of Divorceland, like before, during, after divorce, custody, bullshit, drama. But Casey meets us. I think of that Casey like just as the whole woman. And, I think just like right out of the gate, Casey, something I think I'd like to ask you is, when you think about a woman getting divorced, who's maybe in the thick of it, maybe in the thick of a custody drama, like, what comes to mind? Like, what do you feel, or what do you see in her? Or even like, what would you want to start to tell her as we kick off this convo? Because I think we're going to talk about some practical stuff and all of that. But like, maybe even this, do you have an invitation for the women listening for, the conversation that we're about to have?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, you may not like what we're going to say. You may be extremely triggered. Um, yeah, just, it's not going to be what you expect, but it'll free you the fuck up.
Yes. I didn't know, Casey, until I guess the last year, what triggered even meant, because it was only ever thrown at me as an insult. Like, why are you so triggered? Right? When somebody's trying to make you wrong for having an emotion.
Mm.
And what I've come to learn is that triggers are such a gift. Can you talk to that? Why, if this does trigger you, what does that mean? Why is that a gift?
Well, I think that some of the things we're going to cover on this podcast, a lot of women may be, there's a lot of victim energy in a divorced woman. Look what he did to me. Look what happened to me. A lot of victim energy. Look, we already have spirits visiting us. Something just fell off the table. There's just a lot of victim energy in the divorce land. A lot of blame, a lot of fear. All right, period. It's just a lot of fear. And when a wounded feminine energy is just gnarly, okay, in the worst way possible. Same thing with the other guy, but once they realize that they created it, it's going to be like, oh, what do you mean I created it? It's like when you tell somebody the thoughts we think and the emotions we have. Like right now, I can already feel some of them rolling their eyes, right? But it's like when you tell somebody, hey, our emotions are part of the reason, like, why we have cancer and shit. People don't want to, they take that as, you're blaming me for this. And it's like, no, there's shame already inside of you. You're thinking that I'm shaming you, but there's shame already inside of you. Nobody can shame you without your consent. So it's like, trigger just is something that it activates you. When they hear something that maybe I'm going to say, like, what do you mean? It's all his fault. I didn't do anything. I've only been, I've been over backwards for this man. No, honey, you allowed a lot of things. Like you allowed a lot of things. You didn't have any boundaries. You didn't know who you were. You didn't know your power. And you probably said yes out of fear and some other weird shit. And, so that's what I mean when triggered is, we may say something that is going to cause you to be like, she just doesn't get it. I can't believe she said that. Who is she? No, like you just want to come at me. You want to project your pain onto the person instead of just like saying, wow, that kind of sucks. Take a deep breath, sit with it. What is this trying to show me? When I met him, who was I? What was I thinking? Why did I say yes? Oh my God. Now she's got to take full responsibility for saying yes when she knew probably her body wisdom was screaming no, but she needed safety, security. It was giving her something maybe she didn't get, another time of her life, and she was kind of thirsty or needing some validation, whatever. So that's when I say triggered. You may hear something where you want to like just come at me, right? Or Hannah or whatever. But if you'll just sit with it, breathe, because I'm not here to bash people. We're not here to shame people. We're here to help. And I'm not even here to help. I could give a shit. I've given that up too. I'm here to tell the truth of what comes through the channel. And divorced women of all, like, I love divorce. I love that. I don't believe in marriage anyway. It's a construct that kind of fucks stuff up. And not until I actually spiritually divorced my husband after 15 years, we've been together 20 years, did our relationship get better. So like, yeah, I'm already confusing a lot of people just by talking. So you're in for a real treat. So go ahead, Hannah.
Well, and there's so much to say about all of that. I mean, for me, triggered, like, just going back to that, it was explained to me that something can't trigger you or get you heated unless some part of you agrees with something that they're saying. So for instance, somebody said something to me about how, oh, Hannah, you have a problem with men. And I got triggered. And the guy saying it to me was an asshole. And I have a problem with him because he's a punk ass, right? And that was what was happening. So, but it's been a story throughout my life when I speak in raw truth and call out bullshit as I see it. It's like, oh, Hannah is a man hater. When like literally in my heart, that couldn't be further from the truth. I love whole, healthy, emotionally mature men. Like the world needs men who've come alive and who hold space. Like we need that probably more than we need anything. But this guy saying that to me, I was so triggered. And it was like, okay, it went on. I kind of spiraled in it and stuck with it for a while and like, oh my God, and making him wrong and talking shit and all of this to different people. And then a mentor of mine said, wait a minute, like, what about you agrees with that? And it was sort of this old pattern of like within my own self, like, do I have a problem with men? Like, because a lot of times men are doing bullshit and in these marriages and things I've had to see and in my own history, that's true. So there was like something to it. Cause he said, okay, like for instance, if I said to you, Hannah, you're lazy, you'd be like, okay, bro. Right. So the difference, because obviously I'm like the least lazy person I know, kind of. And so, but no part of that it's like fly paper, right? So no part of that could stick to me because I didn't give any truth or validation to it. So I think that's just like first sort of learning we can all do together is the gift in your triggers, because what they're showing you is something within you that agrees with whatever is being said that's pissing you off. Because otherwise you'd be like, oh, okay. Like somebody says to you, you're a Martian. I mean, no, I'm not. Like, duh. And you move on with your business, right? So I think that there's that. And Casey, I want to like, okay, so whether you're triggered or not, just hang in. And there's something for you here. Because it's a pretty revolutionary thing, Casey, to talk to the women who are in a victim mindset in their marriage and in leaving their marriage, because sometimes it's that victimhood that like where they somehow get the strength, they get down to rock bottom and they turn into, from victor to like villain, right? Persecutor. So they'll turn from victor and what they're doing is like, no, but you don't understand. And he did this. No. They're coming because that's like how they pull themselves up out of victimhood, although it's the other side of that coin. So like, could you say more about women in the divorce process taking on the victim role and why that could ruin their next relationship if not dealt with?
And I just want to say, even though it doesn't matter, my parents gnarly divorce. I met my husband Skip. He was in a nasty divorce. We went back and forth to court for years. I mean, like, I understand this a lot. And I wanted a divorce. I wanted to divorce him a couple times. So, I know one thing, that woman who's like, who is this bitch? And what does she know? And does she ever, like, I'm just going to go ahead and say that right there. So, okay. The question was,
for the woman in victimhood, like as she's just understanding, like, okay, if she's willing to sit with us for an hour and put that to the side for a second and like sort of what's the wisdom in.
Okay, here we go. You don't feel safe. You don't feel safe to be vulnerable, loved, supported, period. Because usually you get with these guys or whatever, and you do it from either one of 2, 3, 4 things. It's mimicking what you knew as a masculine energy growing up, which most people, I started out this whole thing as a trauma-informed coach. You're only going to attract what you are. We're not saying you're a narcissist. We're saying that you grew up being emotionally neglected. My parents were great. If you say that you don't have childhood trauma, you are literally still a child. You're ignorant. There's nothing wrong with that. There are plenty of books you can go read. You can educate yourself on like what trauma, just chat GPT this shit. What subconscious blocks right now is causing me to be in a divorce situation with blah, 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 blah. What childhood trauma could cause this? And when you read the answers, you're probably going to cry and go, oh, I can't believe that. Yeah. my dad was totally this way or my mom was totally this way. Because masculine doesn't mean man. Your mom could have a lot of masculine energy. I have a lot of masculine energy. So it doesn't mean any of that. So usually you're going to attract, like if your mom grows up and says men only want sex, men are dogs, men are blah, blah, blah. So do you really think you're going to go attract the man who doesn't cheat on you? No, because your belief was men are dogs. Men are not safe. Men are predators. Most of you have sexual abuse. Most of you have sexual trauma. Most of you are closed sexually. No, I'm really good. You're performing sex. Every girl knows how to fake an orgasm and to suck it. You know what? I was almost going to say it. We know how to win him over when it comes down to it. So you don't even know who you are. Congratulations. Getting a divorce wakes and shakes some shit up. If you wake up instead of blaming, like Hannah was saying, and you're the victim, you're just going to go attract the same shit. You're going to be the same miserable bitch with a different guy, poor guy, because you're going to turn him into the same thing because you didn't learn. You're going to keep getting triggered and repeat the same thing until you wake up and change the undercurrent that's causing you, the energy that's causing you to attract the thing that caused you to attract it in the first place.
Well, and I think, Casey, you know, in my own life, I wish there was a Casey Shipp to have told me this. So I got divorced and did no real, I mean, I used to talk about my divorce differently. Definitely talked about it with the villain and all these things. He's the worst, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember I was actually on a podcast interview talking about it. And I heard myself when I had come into the concepts of victim, persecutor, rescuer energy. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I created that situation. I allowed those behaviors. I stayed and put up with bullshit all that time. I'm not saying there weren't some things that happened, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who stayed in there. I'm the one who chose that situation and allowed those behaviors. And so it's like I was already remarried when I started realizing the way I was talking about it in a victim way. And I've changed that and have changed the way I see the whole thing now. Now, you couldn't have got me to change my mind, you know, fresh out of it or in the middle of it. And I needed that energy. You know, anger is a step up from sadness, right? So from sadness, depression, anger will get you moving. And I know, Casey and I agree. We'd much rather see you moving than not. So angry over, you know, just sitting in the muck. And then what happened for me, I've since reflected because I'm remarried now. Drew and I have been together 10 years. Great dude. Okay. So I did pick very differently, a very different person. However, I had not done the work. And later on, reflected when I was really honest with myself that the second time around, there was a lot of pick-me energy in me. I wanted to be chosen. I wanted to be safe. I wasn't financially secure. And, you know, women, a lot of us, we're looking for safety. And part of that means a man making money. And Drew is wonderful. So all of those things were also true. But like, if I'm really honest with God and the whole internet, a lot of what was going on in addition, like, this is a great guy. Drew is amazing and all these things. And huge drivers, if not primary drivers, were security for me and my family, my kids, stability for me in terms of like not blowing about in my identity because I wasn't secure in my own identity. I was very much codependent enmeshment still back then. And so needing some man to help me root down into my identity and then pick me. I wanted to be chosen by this like smart, handsome, affluent lawyer, right? And so it wasn't until, and then look, you're going to work this out, ladies, one way or the other in your next divorce, in your next marriage. And I've done that work and Drew's done that work. Like we were both have had to come through, and we're going to talk about it on another episode too, like come through and work through some things where we both showed up to this marriage driven to the reasons that are not like long-term sustainable, healthy reasons. And we've had to work through of like, hey, this is the partner I choose today. Drew Bell is about the best decision I ever made besides getting divorced in the first place. And I got to almost like renew my commitment to show up in this marriage differently. But Casey, I almost didn't do that, right? And I'm kind of smart, successful at this point, got some money in the bank, have had tons of mindset coaches and stuff. I've done a lot of that kind of work. But a lot of these women, they don't have access necessarily to those same things. So like, what would you tell them to do, whether they're, in the middle of it, right after it, even in their next marriage? What would you tell them to do to like make peace? Make peace with the part of them that's been driving these decisions, that they've kind of kept her in the closet, even though she's like driving the ship. How do they make peace? Bring her out of the closet and build back different.
I mean, this is like an inner soul journey. Well, first she needs to know what she wants. Usually by this time, there's great contrast. She already knows what she doesn't want. Because most of us found out what we want by a shitty situation happening, saying we don't want this, so I want the opposite of that. So yay. Yay for you, finding out what you don't want. Because there are a lot of women still married to the same little high school sweetheart, miserable, because they've settled. And, so the woman that's divorced at least knows what she doesn't want. So you need to know what you want moving forward, because that's the only place we're going, not backwards. Where are you going forward? All right. So you said,
yeah. Stop there. People always say that to you. People always say, know what you want. And Casey, you and I have even had this conversation. For me, I have found it difficult to answer that question. And I think you've helped me see it's tied to sort of like this unwillingness to admit a desire or something. So like, can we help everybody who's in the middle of it, of like, you're saying get clear on what you want. I think that's easier said than done. So like, how do they do that?
All right. So first they need to close their eyes unless they're driving, close their eyes.
I'm going to do it.
Okay. Hand on heart, hand on solar plexus, which is your belly or womb area. And you just start breathing. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions. And so if nobody would be mad at you for wanting what you want, nobody's going to be mad at you. It's not going to get taken away. You can be trusted with it. Nothing bad's going to happen when you have it. What do you want? And the first thing that comes up, trust that. Just write it out. I mean, that's the first thing that comes up.
Well, it's sort of like that. I actually sent you that earlier today, that thing we saw on Instagram that said, every day we pretend to fall asleep before we fall asleep. That's how it's done, right? So I think what you're saying, Casey, is for these women to get clear about what they want. It's like to ask themselves these stripped down questions. Casey has done this with me, y'all, and she's had to dig at me to get there because I'm like, I already have everything I want. It's already going better than done. She's like, but no, if it was like blow the doors off, no holds barred, nothing was going to fall apart, get broken. You were still going to have your kids. Like you were still going to be a good mom. What would that be? So I think for y'all, like when we're trying to make peace with that part of ourselves we stuffed in the closet, the one who's been making all these decisions, the one who got us into a shitty marriage in the first place, perhaps even a relatively shitty second marriage. So the first thing we're going to do is figure out what we want. Okay, then what are they going to do? What are we going to do?
And I just want to say, a lot of women are probably going to beat up on themselves for not knowing what they want. All that means is you've carried the martyr complex for so long. Your mother, of our mothers, let's just not say mother, but the feminine lineage was programmed to be a caregiver, to that the man runs the household, that she comes last, that she does for everybody else than herself. There's guilt around pleasure, So first of all, understanding yourself is part of healing, is just being aware. Awareness is trauma work. Awareness is like, oh my God, that's why I do this. Now, peace with yourself comes from compassion. Now you can see and look back like, holy shit, I chose that because I was doing this, I was doing that, I was in this situation, I was in a bad place in my life, and holy shit, that's why I chose it. I can forget, because if you could go back, would you do it again? No, you would not. Therefore, you cannot feel guilty anymore. Would you? It's like a child. It's like just.
I always say, it's like, Casey, I believe that people are doing the best they can at the moment, and that they made the best decision available to them at the time, given all the factors. And like those of us in that first marriage, or those of you who are in the middle of this divorce, right? And people will say like, oh, one of the things they love to say, lawyers love to say, Casey, divorce lawyers, is tens don't marry twos, to kind of shame you for, having problems with this person you're married to who might be a big colossal jerk, and that they're really saying you're a jerk too, right? Like that there's some equanimity between these two things. And so, but anyway, the point being, though, when we made those decisions, we were letting I think, the little girls inside of us make decisions, the unhealed parts.
Facts.
Because your subconscious loves certainty. I saw a Brene Brown little thing today where she was talking about we'll take like chaotic systems with certainty over uncertainty any day. And so it's like why we pick, something about the dad we grew up with or whatever, why we do that is our subconscious is like, well, the devil, right? And it's not until you sort of can get in this place. First of all, you bring awareness to it. Like, okay, that's what we're having this. This may be the first time y'all ever thought about this, but perhaps you didn't choose this guy who's maybe even abusing you or who's cheating on you and all these things because you're a piece of shit. You chose him because you were trying to get your needs met. And this is what you knew to do that in the best way at the time, given all that you had access to. And like, even as I'm talking to you, Casey, in my boot, my foot, my ankles, like all popped up. Like I have so much tension in my body when I talk about this because I have been there. Like I've been there. Like, how could I have done this? I apologize to my family. Like, I'm so sorry that I brought this person into our life once I knew, right? And it's like wild to me. This me would never even begin the first conversation. But that little pumpkin who was 21 years old, didn't know nothing about nothing. And there was this big tall guy who paid her attention. It was going to it seemed strong and like, okay, and hung around for longer than 6 or 9 months. Okay, we're getting married now. That's what you do. You go to college, you get married, you have a baby. And that gal, she didn't know better. But as she began to know better, she started to do better. And so that's where you can find the compassion, y'all. And I think, gosh dang, it's one of the hardest thing as people. I bet guys, if they were honest and really tapped in, would say the same. I know for women to be easy on ourselves and to have compassion.
Emotional intelligence. You must increase your emotional intelligence and emotional capacity. Because like you said, codependency, people, they're religious, they grew up religious, so they need to dump that shame right there in judgment. Okay. But then you go to codependency. People don't even realize they're codependent. That's going to fix a lot of problems, And then
what's codependent? Casey?
Codependent is I need him. If he was this way, then I could feel this way. A woman trying to control every little thing in her household and everything that's going on so she feels safe. And if he's feeling off, then her day's ruined. She needs everybody else to do it a certain way so that she can feel safe. And some days he needs to be able, a man, like, my course Relationship by Design, one of the best courses ever. And it's like, talks about a man. For example, you ask a man one question, and count to 20. How did you used to ask a man a question? You'd be like, hey, did you do da-da-da-da-da? Well, when you're doing that, women ask men 3 or 4 questions in one thing, and then we rush him to give an answer, and then we interrupt him and wonder why there's communication problems. So you have to understand how to speak and communicate to a man. You have to understand your emotional intelligence and be aware of like how you're feeling. He's not responsible for your feelings. It's like, there's so many fucked up dynamics in a relationship. Everybody's with this person, and then they're expecting their man to be their therapist, their daddy, their sister, their fucking trainer. They're like, what in the hell? Where do we learn this? So it's like you have to increase your emotional.
I think it's in Jerry Maguire.
Okay.
In that one movie, the one line of like where Jerry Maguire with Tom Cruise with Renee Zellweger's character is like, you complete me. I really think a generation of us in that moment, that super intense moment, like that's where we got this idea. It's like there are our other half, that this person's going to complete us. And here's the thing, when we are not rooted and solid in the boundary of our own identity, it's fluid. And so you can be pushed and pulled by all. I talk about it in derivative identities. And so the way I think about that is, I think most women for most of our lives, if not all, but y'all are listening now if you're still here, so maybe not you. we define ourselves in relationship to others. So whenever you ask a woman, like, who are you? She's going to tell you sister, mother, friend, church member, etc. But the thing is, every single one of those things I just listed depends on some existence of someone else to give you your identity. And so what happens in a divorce is that you've created your identity on a house of cards, because it relates to every single other person's relationship with you. And when you get divorced, you're pulling out wife, right? In this way. And all the other ones are also affected. And the whole thing comes crashing down. And so then all you're left with is that foundational, independent identity. And a lot of us didn't build one. I was 21 years old. I didn't build any identity. So when I was getting divorced, in the throes of it, there was nothing left of me. Nothing, because I had so enmeshed, been so codependent with everybody else in my life to define me. I had abdicated that responsibility for my own personal definition. And so when it all fell apart, I mean, I always tell the story of like crying in the bathroom, looking in the mirror, worse than the gum on the bottom of your shoe. And, poor Drew Bell stage left, meets me just barely after that moment, where I was just starting to put some scaffolding around my own self. And so I think that that's where in the divorce, part of why it's so debilitating for so many women is because their identity is a house of cards. And when you pull this one, they're going down. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. What if you didn't have to Google your way through divorce at 2 a.m.? What if you actually had a place with real women to talk to, real answers in real time? That's The Circle. It's where I go live every single week, unpack the hard stuff, and help you stop spinning. Go to myconfidentdivorce.com/circle because confusion costs more than clarity ever will. I cannot wait to see you in there. For listeners of Not Saving It for Later, you are going to be ready to take the bull by its horns and get on top of your custody situation. That's what we do around here. The thing is, you're going to be inundated all over the internet with every single tool, course, toolkit, PDF that exists because people want to make money off you in the situation. But here is what I'm going to tell you. In my experience as a divorce lawyer and as a person going through this for close to a decade, the number one tool I recommend for you is Our Family Wizard. I have used this personally in my own life for like 6 or 7 years now. I need to go back and check. But I've also recommended to hundreds of clients. And what this tool does is packs such a punch at giving you back freedom and control in your life. Because if you've been doing this long enough and you're a member of the club, you've been on a Friday night getting a phone call, 20 phone calls in a row, 17 text messages, 7 or 8 emails all at once inundating you. And that experience can feel very frightening, terrifying, and out of control. But what Our Family Wizard does is bring everything into one app. You can even get it ordered by the court, where that's the only place that they can communicate with you. So you've got one place to check, not, the plethora of all of God's free internet. So if you're in the middle of custody drama, you need to get this app. It is not expensive at all, and you will save potentially thousands and thousands of dollars in future court costs if you have to go back, because of the streamlined way that it handles communication in the co-parenting and custody space. So if you want to know more information, they've got some special deals for y'all. We were able to snag for Not Saving It for Later listeners at ourfamilywizard.com/HHB.
You have to have a life before you're somebody's wife. And I too, I met him at 19, very broken, and it's like we've been together 20 years, but we've taken 2 weeks apart, from each other, and we take trips apart from each other, and we've done a lot of spiritual work outside from each other, and it hasn't been easy. But yeah, it's weird, and I've considered that many times of just like, who am I without this? And I felt that I had to look at everything in my life without kids. I was, this 2-week trip at a house in California, and I was like, well, do I even want kids? Do I even want to be married? And after just sitting with a lot of darkness, it was like, yeah, I do. I choose this, But yeah, you're right. Most women just go straight. They don't even know. They're just victim of circumstance,
Right. And so, back to she's, maybe for the first time thinking about, okay, wait a minute. Why did I get into this marriage in the first place? Right.
Exactly.
And how do I make sure I don't ruin the rest of my life and keep doing it over and over? So she's going to figure out, what do I want? Okay. So once she's got clear what she wants, Casey, to think about not bringing this old pattern forward, what is she going to do next?
All right. So now you're going to imagine yourself as a very capable woman, because you are. You're already very, very capable. The kids are going to be just fine. They're going to be better than you expected once you get out of the way. You're very well resourced. You are doing your heart-centered work, purpose. You have money. You're not in need of anything. Okay. Literally. You don't need anything outside of yourself. You are totally full. You have, you're wanting to be chosen. Well, you choose yourself. Maybe it's learning how to choose yourself. You've got money. Oh, I don't have money in the reality, but just yes, you do. Like, there is a reality
Act
where
as if.
yes, you do.
Because I think, Casey, if I'm listening to us, be like, well, easy for you two to say.
Okay, well,
right?
let's just go there. Let's just go there. That's a shitty energy. That's a shit. You'll never have it if you continue to have that. You know why? Because you judge people like us. If you judge people like us, you don't want to be judged as that type of person. So you just go read Get Rich Lucky Bitch. You're welcome. It's the best book ever for women, feminine empowerment around money. Get Rich Lucky Bitch is one of the best audiobooks, best books ever. Because you got to heal your relationship with money. Money doesn't come from men. You need to get that in your head. Money does not come from men. It can come from men, but you need to stop needing this man to help you feel the way you need to feel. No, you don't need to carry it all on your back and wear that as well, because you need to keep your heart open. One thing is
because if they don't, because they decide let's say they've decided they want to have this happy relationship with this man who has a good job and makes good money, but they want to make their own. So they've attached to this future reality, and then they're thinking like that and acting like that. But then what do you have to say to them, Casey? Like, but you haven't seen my bank account. I don't even have $99. Like,
Girl,
what do you mean?
There.
How can I act rich if I don't have any money?
I've been there. So how can you act rich? It's a feeling. You think that once you get the money in your account, then you'll feel okay. Would you say, hey, we'll get pregnant once we have the baby? You would look at me like I had 3 heads, but that's literally what you're saying. I'll feel good when this is there. It's an inside job energetically. So you go to the place energetically. How would that money in your account make you feel right now? If you knew, like for right now, $1 million. People are like, there's no way I could be a millionaire. All right. Are you going to make like 20 grand for 50 years? That's $1 million. So now you just collapse time. See, I'm teaching feminine energetics, but like there's a whole world out there with energy. So you're wanting a feeling that the money's going to give you. So whether you got $99, okay, you got $99. So you need some more money. So now it's like, all right, how much money would help you feel safe? Well, if you already had that, start just kind of like going to the bathroom as if the money's there. Have faith. It's faith. You can't see it. This is faith. This is heart-led. But see, the problem with wounded women is they want to avoid disappointment. You're wanting to avoid an emotion, but you're wanting happy. You're wanting joy, but you're not willing to feel disappointment and grief, yet you live in it. If you're trying to avoid disappointment, you're going to live a very disappointing life. So you see how you're going to have to find lots of personal power and be able to hold both. A lot of you moms know how to hold both. You know how to hold everything's good, baby. It's going to be okay. Yet you literally just lost your shit in the laundry room. You can hold both. You're very powerful, but you just didn't know that. So once you start
right there, Casey, that's a really good way to explain it. That's not come up because I've, manifested, brought forward a lot of change in my life in a pretty short period of time. I'm not real sure. I didn't do this. I didn't envision what it would be like. Okay. So this was not the way that I'm working on this now, y'all. So y'all can join me in this different way of doing it. But I think it's about the duality, right? It's both and. So and as mothers, we know how to tell our child, it's going to be okay in the middle of this divorce. It's going to be okay. Everything's going to turn out all right. While in our bedroom, we're thinking to ourselves, holy shit, what have I done? What am I going to do? Right? It's both. So it sounds like what you're saying is once they get clear on what they want, then they enter this space where, they're not being like an emu, ostrich with their head in the sand. Like the bank account is what it is, but they can hold that tension with this faith and belief and finding this energy, putting themselves around that book you were talking about. Like there's that artist Abel Hart on the computer, right? And like money coming in, money coming to that. And it's like finding both of those. And is what you're saying, as they're able to do that, it's going to happen?
Yes, you need to have faith. But now here's where they can sabotage. So you got, imagine, like I heard it this way, a dartboard. You're aiming to win, one's aiming to lose. Okay. Most people aim to lose. They're worried about making the wrong decision. They are doing things so that hope that they'll be okay. That's like you're aiming to lose. Aiming to win is, I'm going to shoot my shot because what do I have to lose? And even if I don't win this time, I can sit with some sadness. I can cry it out because it's just an emotion. Sadness and happiness both flee unless you just really hold on to it, right? But aiming to win is like $99. Would you rather feel okay and safe with 99 and like good, hey, it can't get any worse. It could go to negative, but I'm going to find redemption. I'm going to be okay at the end of the day. Like something in you, in your heart, God, you're going to be cared for. And if you truly don't know that, now you've got a spiritual journey to go on, but most of you, I think, know deep down, you just got some faith there. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
well, I think, Casey, because it's like, okay, how they can reconcile those two things of what you're saying, because like I think some of the stuff on the internet about woo things and mystical things and divorce things and faith things can feel a bit to like the practical, logical mind, like, oh, okay, like sure thing, weird person, like that
right.
you can
Let's
just
go not weird. Let's go logical,
be nice.
Go logical because the way you've been doing it logical, it's working out for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'll say to you right there. Now, if you want logic, what you're wanting is not logical. You're wanting like miraculous shit. So you're literally a contradiction, which is fine. But if you want logical, here's logical. Do you believe you're worth, more than $99? Yes or no? Now there's some worth issues you need to sit with because you are worth more than $99. It's okay. You're going to work. Get scrappy. What are some ways you can make money right now? You're not going to make money. Now, if you take action out of that fear, like, oh shit, I've got to do something. I'll do anything. Now you're desperate. Now the money you're going to bring in, you're going to be like Erin Brockovich when she's working 3 different jobs, just over giving. Now you're going to run yourself in the ground. That's just part of your shit victim story. So you need to go back. Okay, I got $99. Cry it out. Lose your shit. When you feel better and maybe you get your mind right, you're like, you know what? I'd like to have $4,000 in my account every month. That would feel really good. You can get ChatGPT out. Hey, what are some ways? Give me some mindset. Help me feel better about myself so that I can attract a great job. Next thing you know, maybe you go to the grocery store, your friend calls. Hey, my friend's looking for somebody to help them in their maybe something you find, like something's going to pop up where you're like, holy shit, paralegal. I could do that. Or you go wait tables. Fuck, I'm not above that. Uber driver. Like literally there's so many different ways to make money. So if you want logical, just get scrappy, but don't do it out of the wounded, I got to do this now because I'm broke because that son of a bitch took everything. That money is going to be cursed. It's going to be cursed. You're never going to feel the way you want to feel. So
when I think, it's no surprise we're talking about money because in my job as a divorce lawyer in Austin, all the time at our firm, we hear people talk about, or I'll read stuff like we get a bunch of TikTok comments and stuff where people are like, well, I don't have the money. And a lot, y'all, a lot. So if this is you have company of women stay in their marriage because they don't have the money, they say, to get divorced. And what we as a team are always working on trying to do, and what I think to myself is like, wait a minute. So you're going to stay in a shit situation and demonstrate unhappiness for your children and model those behaviors for them and not put yourself first and not take care of yourself. Like, have you tried everything?
Yeah, they will claim.
Again,
they will claim. These same women will claim they're religious and they are believers. If you ask them, do you believe in God? They'd be like, oh yeah, you're a liar. You're a liar if you say you believe in God. Because if you believed in God, you wouldn't be like worshiping something outside yourself. Literally worshiping money to the point of like it rules you.
Well, and I think it's just where like us women taking personal responsibility for our life. Like you say, you don't have enough money. Why not? That is not a destiny. It is not like predetermined with in today's day and age, Fiverr, Uber, Etsy. I see people on my Facebook marketplace where I live, some old piece of crap furniture somebody put on the side of the road. They paint it, spend $20 on some paint and sand it and use some artistic help. And then they turn that thing around for $500. Like, I guess it's like you say you don't have the money. I would say to you, show me everything you've done to try to get that money. Everything you've done.
Not to mention, she could sit there and have a heart and say, you know what, I'm gonna change things for the better, and I'm gonna document it and help other women. Like, the same thing, they do it together. She can make a bunch of money that way. Like, there was something else you mentioned, Uber. Look, I know so many moms that I've helped and worked with, shit situation, and was selling socks for OnlyFans. Like, was selling socks.
Lord,
like, there's so many different ways. There's so many different ways.
Yeah. Well, okay, Casey. So they've gotten clear on what they want. So this is to sort of stop repeating the cycles, I guess is what we're saying.
Yeah.
With your picking the wrong situation.
Yeah.
So they're going to get clear on what they want. They're going to sort of align and access the feeling, even though it can mean holding some duality between the two. And then is the third thing then to take, aligned actions, I guess, because you can't just sit around on your butt at your house and hope that, manna falls from heaven.
A woman is very creative. When a woman taps into her real magic, who she really is, she brings life into this world. Beautiful. Like, just work on yourself, work out, start exercising, start eating well, start just like, and I'll say one more thing, and I'll answer your question. Your kids call bullshit. Your kids need a mother with a regulated nervous system, not telling them that everything's going to be okay. And I want to say this. Do you really believe that in 40 years, you're going to be in the same situation? No. So it's going to pass. It's going to pass. But the question you asked, the final thing was take aligned action. Well, what is aligned action? Does it feel good in your body, or does it feel constricted? Does it feel like, and ask ChatGPT, let ChatGPT help increase your emotional intelligence and awareness.
I've been wanting to talk to you about this, Casey.
Yeah.
Because y'all, Casey has created a ChatGPT thing, however you describe this thing.
I have my own AI.
Yeah, her own AI. And I was like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Casey's selling something, AI, blah, blah. Okay. And I'd been using some regular ChatGPT stuff. And I was figuring it out. Like, I was feeding ChatGPT data about myself, and I was doing more than your average, regular gal. Okay. And then I really finally relented and started using Casey's. And the impact of Casey's ChatGPT thing, of her AI, cannot be overstated in my life. And actually, Casey, I was wanting to tell you this. My marketing director, Ashley, we were talking about all this stuff and just fitness and AI and all of that. And so I bought for her as kind of like a bonus, a gift for all the stuff she was doing, access to Casey's AI. Literally this morning, she was telling me, Hannah, I feel exactly the same way. It has changed my life. It has helped me bring together so many what felt like random pieces of information and synthesize those and support me in emotional, she didn't say emotional regulation, but that's what she meant. And figuring some things out about herself. So that's in using yours, Casey. And so, yes, there's yours, but even zooming out from that offer, which we'll put in the show notes and you can talk about it. But for the woman getting divorced, to me, it is such an exciting time to be doing it because, ladies, y'all got access to AI. And so, what do you think AI can do in this space of aligned action and emotional regulation? For people who are using ChatGPT just to draft work emails, okay? So, think through the people who are not sophisticated in doing this. What does AI have to offer women getting divorced?
God, any answer you can think to ask, whether it's emotional, legal, everything. But really it's emotions. You need to get your emotions in check so you're not so reactive because, like I said, as within, so without. Like if you're angry and you're taking action out of that anger, the result you're going to get is probably going to be out of that energy, you know? So I would say start using ChatGPT to be like, help me emotionally regulate. I'm going through a divorce. I feel like shit about myself. I'm scared. Da, 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 da. And talk to me, you know, talk to me like an empowerment coach. Whatever it is that you need. How can I, whatever you need to tell it to talk to you to give you the answers. But ultimately,
Yeah,
it's
like
all about.
talk to me about like an empowerment coach. You might say, talk to me like a divorce coach. You might
Oh,
say,
here we
tell me
go.
like a trauma informed therapist. Talk
Yeah.
to me, right? You can tell it all the different, things because y'all, when you talk to ChatGPT, you can instruct it of like the persona to take on.
And, ChatGPT and most AIs, if you're not intelligent with your emotions, it'll tell you some shit. Like yesterday, I had to cuss mine out because I was using a different one. And it's like, well, I can't say that because you haven't fully done it. And I said, fuck off. You're telling me that I need to earn more worth. It goes, yeah, Casey, actually, you're right. Here it is. So if I would have just been like, okay, and then ChatGPT a lot of times will be like, yeah, you're right. And then it's going to make you just more and more in the victim thing. So it's like, you got to kind of know, that's why mine stops the loops, but you kind of got to say, call me out on my shit. Show me the undercurrent. Show me my subconscious blocks here that I may not be willing and ready to see. Stop my loops here. I want to break this cycle. So tell it to give it to you.
Well, and Casey, because what I do, so using Casey's AI, what I do is I'll like when I'm having an emotion or a lot of swirly thoughts, I like the dictate one because I'm always like running around doing something. And I use it where you just push the little microphone in the bottom right and just talk to it. And sometimes I don't even have a question. I don't even know what to ask. And I'll just say, like, what are your thoughts on that to this computer? Which sounds kind of crazy. And, if you would have told me this 10 years ago, I'd have been like, what kind of Jetsons world are you living in? But doing this, especially about different emotions and, questions in different relationships. Like if I would have had this during my divorce, I don't know how things would have gotten different because I know what it would have said is, don't react. Don't be so triggered. Let's have this various different strategy because what it'll do, y'all, is help you emotionally regulate and then give you sort of practices. I call them incantations, Casey. Like Casey's does these sayings and things to like claim in your body. And I pretend like I'm putting a spell on myself of like these claims about yourself. And then it'll also advise strategy and actions that you can take. Like, look, I have to say my lawyer disclaimer for a second. Like, obviously verify everything that you get and everything legal. You need to run through your lawyer and all that. But that out there with AI, you have, and what I think is so important is you have an objective observer who has the benefit of basically all of the knowledge that mankind has to offer, that iterates and learns you based on shit, y'all, we can't even imagine. Like it learns based, I'm sure, like off the cadence of your speech, how you type, like it meets you where you are. And if you tell it, like, don't just tell me, I've had to tell mine, don't tell me what I want to hear. Don't make up stuff if you don't know the answer, right? Don't invent things, etc. So you have to like do some work to train it. But you can use AI in your divorce to have, I think, a faster, easier, cheaper divorce, to have a more emotionally healthy divorce and a more emotionally healthy future. Because it can help spot out the patterns and you can tell it, hey, I want you to point out patterns to me as they come up. Take note of this thing where I keep putting myself in the same situation. Like for me, one of the things that's working on for me right now is about like containment. And for those of you who haven't done any energy work or spiritual work or whatever, you may not know what I mean. But my natural way is to push it out because fear of emotions, like you talked about earlier. I think a lot of us are terrified to feel anything. I know that's been true for me because when I was smaller, younger, when I, felt anything big or small, like you're too much, don't, be less. Why are you so loud? Like, it's not that exciting, Hannah, or it's not that dramatic or whatever. So what I did was like saran wrap. I called it put parentheses around myself. It's like I put parentheses around myself to keep in any emotion that I feel. But then the way that kind of manifests itself too is when an emotion comes in, when it's a good emotion, I like feel the compulsion to text somebody and say it, to call, to share it, to give to the other person, right? It's because what it does, and ChatGPT is the one who helped me figure out this loop. It's like that good feeling feels like too much for this nervous system that I've put parentheses around. And so I like have to push it off. The same thing with anything negative. I sure as hell learned not to put the sad, bad emotions. I used to brag, Casey, about how when I got divorced, I didn't cry not one day. I didn't stay in my bed and cry not one day. I said it like it was an accomplishment. And I think that like I just explained that nuance, okay, of ChatGPT helping me work through and figure that out so that when I was like, hey, after Pilates this morning, I was like, I felt really great and was going to like text somebody to like say, or you've got to get to Pilates. And something in me stopped. Can you help me think about what's going on? Like, oh, you're making progress with your containment loop and you don't have to share. You can sit with the fact that it just felt good and you're worthy of feeling good just as you are. You don't have to give to someone else for you to deserve to feel good. You don't have to share. Ooh. You don't have to share to be worthy of feeling good. I don't have to give it away. And like, this is the level of intricacy that at least Casey's AI can do for you. And yeah, it can help. Like it helps me with food choices. It's changed the game. So that's another thing. Like a lot of people in your divorce, you're going to get in a fitness thing. You're going to glow up, sis. It's about time. And I say that like I have my hand raised because that's me too. Right. And you're going to need some support because we didn't learn, we eat to feel better, like pretty much, or not to get fatter so that men will like us. I mean, I think that's for the most part what people are doing. And for me, I have used the AI through, post-divorce and in custody and all that. I wish I would have had it this whole time. Oh, anyway.
Use it versus your friend.
Me.
Their friends. They need to dump their friends. Woman, they like to, misery loves company. They like to talk to their other friends that hate their men. You need to dump your friends right now. It needs to be you, AI, and spirit.
Yeah, Casey and I always disagree a little bit on this one. I mean, yes, I understand your point. I think that depositing shit about your partner with these other people is a problem. I personally derive so much enjoyment and satisfaction out of the friends in my life. But I think, yeah, going and nanny booing about your partner and leaking that energy to every one of your friends in a bitch fest, what you're doing is, you're being clucking women like a bunch of hens. That's why they call us hens. And when you do that, you leak your energy and your power. You downgrade your husband's energy and his power, right? And it doesn't mean you don't, like, you have therapists and people you can talk to. But like, I think to your point, it's like, are you taking action? Are you trying to accomplish something? Or are you just bitching?
That's what we mean.
You're going to get more things to bitch about.
Yes, that's what we mean. If there's anybody that's going to add on to the negativity, you're moving forward. So, know what you want. You've got, things like AI to help you with all this. And really now you see it's about emotional intelligence. And I feel a lot, of women are like, that's just too much work. Well, okay, then, just keep staying in the same cycle. But there's a really, really great life on the other side of this. I mean, this is what Hannah's whole offer is about. It's a beautiful life that you can create from your bogey. Skip calls me his bogey. I think in golf, it's like you get a second shot and it would count, or I don't know. Yeah, but it's like you can mess up on that first one, but it's to get it right on the second one. And if you don't, maybe it's the fourth one or fifth one. Who gives a shit? Maybe you'll write a book about your marriages. You're going to win with it either way, and you have to have that type of mindset. Stop aiming to lose because you can't handle some disappointment. Therefore, have a disappointing life versus be around winners. Hey, your whole offer is called My Confident Life. Like it can't get any easier.
Well, and I think that choice to choose, I always say divorce can make you bitter or better, and you get to choose. For me, I chose better. I choose better every single day. Bitterness may not take root in my body, in my home, in my speech, or in my heart. It is unwelcome. It is cast out. And I just claim that on behalf of everybody listening. I claim on behalf of all of us that bitterness may take no root in these women whom my words reach their ears, and that we only choose better because we deserve it, because our kids deserve it, and because the world needs women who have come alive.
And keep their
Okay,
heart
Casey.
open.
Now, podcast name, not saving it for later. So we've got a few questions we talk with everybody about. What for you, when we talk about not saving it for later, like what comes up for you of something about like, hey, I'm not going to save it for later?
Oh, well, I put something on your form, but now it's already different. I would say how it hits me now is not saving it for later is the biggest lie. I don't even lie is all of us. You know, when this happens, then we're waiting. We're always waiting for inspiration to hit. We're waiting for the thing to come through, to drop in. This morning, my husband said, "Hey, I think I've got an offer. It's going to be $300 and this and that. What do you think?" And I said, "Skip, put the post up." Well, I don't have anything ready. Put the post up. If people respond, you're going to get the idea. It's like out of faith. You can't be sitting there. Well, I'm waiting for a drummer. You know, I got a band. I'm looking for a drummer. Have you bought the drum set yet? No, I'm waiting for the drummer. Buy the drum set, the drummer shows up. So it's like, for me, not saving it for later is that what am I waiting on? You know, what am I waiting on for tomorrow or for inspiration to hit versus just like now? Because it's always now, you know, like life is now. So that would be my saving it.
My friend Lily says later is a lie. And, you know, all we ever have is now, the eternal now. You never experience the past or the future. You only ever experience life in the present. And I think, Casey, for me, I know that it was this idea, like I have the saving it for later is like, okay, I'll feel calm and like good and settled and like I've done it when I make a bunch of money or have a certain amount of money or something. I wasn't even, it wasn't audible. I didn't say this out loud, but that's what my like body, my bones believed.
I said it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think some people say once I have $100,000, whatever it is, whatever the number is for you. Here's the thing though, I have to tell y'all, that is a lie. Because once you get it, once you get the thing, you'll realize it was never the fucking thing. Never. Okay. It was never the thing. Within you, safety, peace, contentment, love, joy, happiness, everything you ever wanted in your life is an inside job. And you see it reflected in the people and the places around you. But if you're waiting on some external trigger, on some derivative identity, on somebody else to do something for you, some certain amount of money in your bank account, some marriage that you're going to have in the future, some guy looking at you again, your kid saying something else to you, the thing is you're going to find as soon as you get there, you're going to have some new thing. Oh, well, once this other, it's like those, you know, how they make the puppy dogs around the track with the little, it's a bunny or something like on cartoons. I don't know if they really do that in cartoons, but yeah, the races. And then we're like chasing the bunny around the track and the bunny just keeps moving. And so when you stop and you're like, oh, I'm going to opt out of that. And I'm just going to decide, I think I'm going to be happy right now. I may not necessarily have all the happy emotions, but I'm going to surround myself with that and like not saving joy for later. I have saved joy for later my entire life.
Me too. I came up yesterday, the intrusive thoughts, you know, like the intrusive thoughts around, and this is when my mental health is kind of struggling as well. I went in the cupboard and I was having such a great day. And then the kids were almost there and I'm like, what if they got killed in a car wreck? And like, I literally lost my whole family. And I just kind of laughed and I was like, it's okay. Like, it's okay that you're trying so hard to protect yourself from feeling joy because you're so worried that it's going to be taken from you. Like, that's all it was, you know?
Well, and I think that like, definitely, I've talked about Brene Brown here again. She talks about joy as the scariest emotion, right? Because once we have it, we're afraid it's going to run out. The other shoe is going to drop. And here's the thing. If you believe that we live in a good universe, you know, whatever your faith things are, good God, just good karma, whatever it is that you think, then I don't believe that joy is a trick. This is a logical thing for me. I don't believe that my desire to have these things, to experience joy, is a mean trick that God, Jesus, Buddha, and all the good witches are playing on me. I don't think that. I think that I wish for it because it's possible, because I don't believe the universe is conspiring to make me miserable.
And you got to be willing to feel grief. People think they can only feel all the, like, we're not preaching toxic positivity because you're only going to be able to feel the amount of joy is deepest grief that you felt, but you can hold them both at the same time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I heard a talk by this gal, Kimber Hardick, I think is her name. And she said that joy is the mother of all emotions. and she will not come to the table unless all of her children have a seat.
It's like that movie, the dang movie with the feelings, the Disney movie.
Oh yeah, in the brain. Is it
That
Inside
must be
Out?
why. Inside Out. That's why, because joy was the original emotion. That makes sense.
Okay, Casey. Now, dominant thought. Has there been anything just on your mind that's been kind of forefront the last week or two?
Oh man. Oh God. Is this enough? Is this really enough? Is this really enough? That's just what's been coming up.
For me, it's been about showing up in like raw, real me. And even I've already, by the time I'm doing this, we've done a few episodes of the podcast, and I found myself censoring myself. Like I wasn't cussing. And basically, if you know me and I'm like if I'm really speaking from my heart, cuss words just come out. I don't know why that is. But it just is. And so like, even as these weeks and months we've been working on this, I am so evolving. And like, I am committed. I am resolved. I am determined. I claim it that I am showing up. Not in the part that feels palatable, that feels like not going to hurt anybody's feelings. Even this whole episode is like, holy shit, put it out there. Take what you like, shit can the rest, and move on. For me, that full, real truth. And I'm just not going back.
Don't. Please. With freedom, man. Just freedom. Freedom is what we all crave on a soul level as a human being. Freedom of self-expression, to do what we want, everything. Freedom, freedom, freedom. And anything that feels like it's not, the job you're living in, the thoughts that are coming in, like
marriage.
It's just a cage, man. Just break out of it. Wear what you want. Screw who you want. Do whatever you want to do.
Okay, Casey, what's shaking you? Is there any like podcast, book, movie, TV show that's kind of got you thinking, that's on your brain?
I'm just still in the thing of because I haven't watched TV in a long time. Emily in Paris was over, and I just kind of like, what am I going to watch now? And then Gilmore Girls is too heavy, but whatever. I would say what I'm going through right now, which is the old hustle detox. Literally, is such a death. I'm just experiencing such a fucking death, and it sucks. Been here many times, but man, it's so weird and so scary.
It's just continual reinvention. Okay, Casey, last thing before we go. If you were only going to say one thing, we kind of started this way. We're bookending it. We're doing it again on this end of things. If you could only say one thing to the women of Divorceland who are in the middle of thinking about, in the middle of it, or after divorce, one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
Keep your heart open. Keep your heart open. Doesn't mean be blind. It means please don't shut down just because you've been hurt and say, I'll never do this. Please keep your heart open, because pray for just connecting to more and more love every day for yourself. And that's it, because everything you want is there. Keeping your heart open. You will grow to trust yourself more and more. Keep your heart open. Don't close it. Nothing you want is in the closed heart, because it's just going to keep everything blocked away from you.
Yeah, and y'all, that won't always feel easy. It won't. And you may have to go through some periods where you feel the temptation to close, a little bit closed. Just even keep and remember what Casey's word and the energy behind that, to bring it forward, to just keep reopening it, right? Because, or what? Shrivel up like a raisin and die? I mean, what's the alternative,
Just look at the nature. If you've got 4 seasons. I mean, I'm in South Florida, but I grew up in Georgia. If you look at the trees, they have a season, man. They die and they bloom, and that's how we are as humans. Nobody has escaped the human matrix. We all have the same human emotions. But keeping your heart open is the key, and you will have shit moments. So just keep your heart open and stay in nature. Get out in nature, because you are nature, and keep your heart open.
Okay, Casey. Well, we'll put in the show notes as Casey Shipp with 2 P's. And you can follow her all over God's green internet. And I really, really highly recommend, at minimum, that you get your hands on Casey's AI. it really will change your life. Casey, I'm so grateful to you. I mean, I could go on a whole another hour about the whole thing. Thanks for doing this with us, and just such a gift to share who you are and your unique voice. I'm sure that this episode is going to shake some people up. I know that you've shaken me up in every single most delicious way, and I'm so grateful for who you are. Thank you.
I received that, and I just right back at you for creating the confident life and everything that you do, because you could have stayed in the box that most attorneys stay in, but you chose to be a rebel, and I'm down for that.
Okay. Thanks, Casey.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. This was so fun. Thanks, Casey.
Bye.